When we first started, we didn't know many things, but we did know that we wanted to make an impact. We did know that we wanted to elevate a community and hopefully even a city. I just didn't expect it to be Chattanooga. I'd known Chattanooga, at least the version of it that existed in the late 80s and early 90s, and to be completely honest, it was not on my list. I don't think it was on anyone's list at first.
Chattanooga has been named the worst city in the nation for particulate air pollution.
Back then, Chattanooga was a city in transition. It was beginning to try to find its voice, but it was not known as a hub for design. It wasn't known as a hub for creativity, or even probably culture at that point in time. As soon as the aquarium was built, the energy changed. There was like this spark of possibility and excitement. We could all feel that the city was just starting to turn a corner. So starting in 1995, we began to make our mark in design, slowly with logos and identities, eventually moving into brand. But we started small and very slowly, and we kind of made up everything as we went along. And we really just approached every project just wanting to do our best. We weren't really thinking about the long term or the big picture of how it might affect the community. All the way through that first decade, we just want to do things ourselves. And at that point, 10 years in, I was doing everything by myself and trying to be great at all of it, and not. In 2004, I rediscovered the joy of collaboration. That change honestly started when I interned with Stefan Sagmeister for 1 month at the old age of 34. I was hoping to learn how to be a brilliant designer, but what I really learned was that brilliant design is not done alone. Stefan did what he was truly gifted at, coming up with amazing ideas, and then he would work with others to bring his ideas to life. Anyone who had the skills that he didn't have and he needed. Well, that really opened my eyes. So when I returned to Chattanooga and back to the studio, I tried to figure out what I was best at to focus on that, and then try to find people I could collaborate with to do everything else. Well, fortunately, this opened the door to some amazing relationships, not just with the people I got to work with, but also with the clients and with the community. What became important was not just what we could bring to the table, but what all of us could build together. In many ways, Widgets and Stone was sort of born out of that philosophy. Design as a partnership. Design as a way to elevate not just companies, but entire communities, and to help build, hopefully, a small bit of culture.
Anybody that's got a creative sense of what things are and what things could be, he saw something that no one else could really see. You know, he had these big hopes for design in the world and decided to move here. When I think back about it, it was so courageous because there really wasn't much of a community to land, but I think he saw the potential and decided to do it. And so we had this idea, what if we could make a team that was new to Chattanooga, but it was really pro-Chattanooga, and people could come and cheer for something. And so soccer is to me, the sport that kind of is the world's game. And Chattanooga was wrestling with, how do we really assimilate a bunch of different cultures if we're gonna grow as a city? There's something about watching some people play that if you watch it the right way, it touches a part of you that bypasses all kinds of typical judgment centers, and you just have this exuberant this is for something bigger than me. We really had these high hopes for it, but it had to be good design. It had to be good intention on the way people perceived it, because this is hard to think about, but there was no soccer in the Southeast. Like, the closest team was in Ohio. There's nothing south of Ohio in the United States. Atlanta didn't have a team, Nashville didn't have a team, Miami didn't have a team. All those teams that do currently exist didn't. And so Paul had to think, how do I make something that puts Chattanooga on the map, where you look at it, you go, okay, that stands on its own 2 feet. When we rolled the Chattanooga FC logo out, it was one of those, I cannot believe what he just figured out. Paul really tried to say, no, this is authentic to Chattanooga. and it's got all the complexities that you could ask for. We always wanted to have a team that we could think about for 100 years, and that design's a 100-year design. I had grown up as a child more in the Main Street South Side area of Chattanooga. When you talked about the South Side, it was like nothing was happening over there.
When I moved back in the 80s, South Side, no one hung out in South Side, and frankly, no one lived down here. And then that began to change, and the neighborhood began to have an influx of really talented artists, people creating a business here, of moving their business here, and then living in the neighborhood. It's that third place concept where, you've got your home, you've got your work, and then a place for people to hang out, which is their third place. It's a variety of places for people, but we wanted to really create an atmosphere that had the feeling of a third place. So that's one of the core principles to our concept. My brother and I started Hello Money in late 2021, and we've always wanted to do something for our neighborhood in the South Side. Paul has been a huge part of this community, if you look at it, because in that development, Chattanooga began to have more big city characteristics, creating neighborhoods around downtown. Paul's work weaves in and out of this growth of the community and this evolution of becoming more like a big city. I think it fits hand in hand with how the community's grown and gotten much more urban. Paul is just one of those people that I can go to and have these real constructive, casual, creative conversations that helps me really, really get more focused on what we need to do with our projects. Everybody loves the branding, and that's, a direct reflection of Paul. Sometimes the branding doesn't need to be talked about. It speaks on its own just through, the connection of the comfort and the energy and the space, and people understanding the connection between the space and the menus and the food. And we're beginning to extend it, just like all brands. They evolve and they grow. We just made some really exciting changes to the branding of Dynamo so it would fit in our can program. Again, we wouldn't make those changes without his involvement.
Moon Pie has been in Chattanooga its whole life, since 1917, and we're sort of standing on the shoulders of now 5 generations of our workers and owners, and we are part and parcel to Chattanooga. I mean, Chattanooga is our forever home, and so it's really fun that Paul has helped us elevate our design, because his touches on this city are so evident, across all industries and types of businesses, and the fact that one of the most enduring brands in Chattanooga also has his fingerprints on it is only right. Now, what I love about Paul is his humility. He listens well. He doesn't judge where you've been. I know his brain's cranking through ideas on how to make it better, but he has a great way of sort of redirecting and steering you to a place that his amazing design brain wants to go, but making you feel good and included in the process. And so we basically just gave Paul our full trust and said, take us where we need to go. And we tweaked the logo, we simplified the design, we made it pop in a real clear, crisp, simple way, and we haven't changed it since he did that project.
The lasting work of Widgets and Stone and what Paul created with his design team is so remarkable that as Clinica Medicos over 10 years developed and adopted new projects, new avenues of delivering healthcare services, the base of that design was so strong and the foundation was so clear that it served as the template and really the guide for every other piece of design work that reflected Clinica Medicos. We needed a lot of help, but that help came first from Paul. That ability to believe with us and to be as passionate as we were for the project, that he was willing to support a lot of aspects of the project that we wouldn't have been able to do on our own. and that was with his time and with his resources. And it was a gift. And in retrospect, I realize how big that gift was because it's unique. But it was a testimony of how when he cared about something and in partnership, he was willing to also make sacrifices for it. And for that, I'm always indebted, and I'll never forget it, Paul. Legacy, yes, has to do with the mark you leave on an institution, on a person. I also think it largely has to do with the mark you leave on others to continue your work and to continue your philosophy of what it means to be a community member. I saw that in working with Liz Tapp recently, who now is within the UTC design department. When it came to a semester project for the class, what she thought about was us through her work with you. She thought about how can we contribute to this community organization that's doing wonderful work and lighten their load. How can we help? And I can't help but think that a lot of that is your legacy, Paul, in what you demonstrated directly and indirectly, and a lot of the virtues that you hold are in other people's work as they plant seeds in the community and they bring that same life to other people's projects that I'm pretty confident will be just as lasting.
When I think about Paul's work and the legacy of Widgets and Stone, I think about how he taught us to see. There's this interesting difference between perception and perspective. Perception is how we take in the world. Perspective is how we understand the world. Every designer begins with perception, but the ones that really make a difference end with perspective. They move from mastering what things look like to reveal what they mean. So Paul didn't just teach us how to make things look beautiful, he taught us how to make things that are true, how to see beyond the immediate, to see through it, to understand the story behind the form. If perception is temporary and if perspective is timeless, Paul, in the story of Widgets and Stone, gave us perspective. He taught us to look deeper, reach higher, and imagine better. Paul's way of seeing will keep shaping the people and this city for years to come.
We were able to help create something that lasts, not just a design studio, but a city that reflects the work, the people, and the values that built it. I think here's the beautiful part. Today, the city isn't just being designed by us anymore. There's a whole new generation of creatives who are shaping Chattanooga. And getting to watch that unfold is probably the most rewarding part of the whole journey. It's beautiful.